Back at it. Yay. Water break.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just start with the relationship topic.
Yay.
If you're okay with it.
Yeah, my favorite topic.
Can you give a more context or overview of like the kind of relationship that we have?
An overview of the kind of relationship that we have. We're not settling for something standard or predictable or that is adherent to our past version of relationship. So it's the middle ground between idealizing each other, so aiming for the dream relationship, and being too pragmatic or being too repetitive and standard. So we're kind of fluctuating between these two poles. So we're doing our best to make it sustainable, so we keep it kind of light and manageable and very routinary, but at the same time we want to feature it with something outstanding, unique, and special. So that's why we venture into, oh, let's make a podcast together, oh, let's make plans to go to Singapore together, let's watch Wicked and sing it along, like things like that.
No, I was just expecting for you to say like, oh, we're in a long distance relationship. You're in Italy and I'm in Bangkok, and now we're just for context. No, but yeah, just a quick overview. We're on our how many months now? 5, 6?
It's between 5 and 6. Yeah,
5, 6 months. Oh, I thought it's 50 years already. We just celebrated our 50th.
I was about to say it, like the anniversaries that we spent with each other are already almost uncountable.
Why do you say that?
I'm using like a Korean drama statement, like the business proposal one. What does this credit card and my love for you have in common?
What is it?
They're both unlimited.
It's limitless.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish my credit card is like that.
I wish to. I think.
So how do you want to go this?
Go
You
planner.
answer first, I answer next, or how do we do it?
No, you start first. Otherwise, I bias you too heavily.
Again. Okay, so the episode title from ChatGPT is The Long Distance Diaries. It's about how's the experience doing long distance. So, first question. What's the hardest part of being in a long distance relationship?
I'm
Want to start?
already in the mind reading mode. I'm trying to decipher the site of Gideon to understand what's stressful
What?
for him right now.
One is that the time difference is difficult. 6 hours. 5 hours was more manageable. The 6 hours one is made it more difficult to match your waking hours. So it's sometimes frustrating and it affects the sleeping patterns, and the energy levels also need to be accounted for or considered. Yeah, sometimes you just want to spend your weekends or free time with each other, but it's impossible right now. But I guess it helps. I think I can see the good parts of it too, like you miss each other more and you get to save a bit more money, and then you go into like trips with each other later on. So yeah, I get. And also I think the last thing is for me is when there's a conflict, it's always more challenging to discuss and to fix them when you're apart. You're far from each other compared to being together where you can just hug or kiss or do more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree
Your
with
turn,
this
your
part.
turn.
Yeah, I was reflecting on this last statement because I think that the most difficult is to fill the gaps when we are not present to each other. So, given the time difference, given the kind of weird timing for the video calls and stuff, the most challenging is when you are apart, what's going on. And while each of us is facing their own demons, let's say, or they're trying to live their life like autonomously, there is a way to process what the other person might be going through that is all based on assumptions because you don't see them like in the first place. So these rumination that comes from, oh, like what might he be doing, or like guessing and not relying on direct communication, I think that leads to a lot of misunderstanding, and also it puts a lot of pressure on the other person to kind of overshare, and that might come across as control too. So it's like that's really frustrating. but at the same time, it's a training for open communication, so that when you have more chances of spending time together, like solid time together, when you're close, then there is no barrier anymore to say, oh, I should restrict myself from sharing, because you already proved to yourself how effective that is to strengthen the relationship and to prevent this overthinking to be triggered.
I guess our timeline fits well because it gives us time to prepare each other, like in many aspects, like professionally, emotionally, and I think it's just gonna make this worth it when we finally close the gap. Financially, like settle whatever we can before closing the gap. So yeah, that's the challenge at hand. And question number 2 is, how do you stay connected despite the distance? Well, we have our almost daily calls, texts, and initially we had some issues of like, oh, what kind of communication do you want us to have? Is it text, voice notes, and calls? And then I rank like, oh, of course, video call is top 1, audio call is top 2, voice notes, and then photos, and last is just plain text. And I appreciate how you add variety or variations to make it more interesting and more quality. And I think it's working so far.
I think that these are the tools, right, that we use to keep in touch with each other and update and let the relationship be nurtured. But I think what really makes the difference is the genuine will to share about the day-to-day events. And it's not just a reporting like, oh, Mahal, I'm getting out of work, oh, Mahal, like I'm coming home, oh, I'm meeting this friend. It's more about the nuances of like, how do I feel, what's related to the challenges of the day. So that's what makes it kind of like a life journal. Is a shared life journal. It's not just a report that is very, what's that, dry of daily activities. So that's what I've been looking for in a relationship, because behind every step during the day there is a whole world of emotions and of mindset and of thoughts and of beliefs that we need to share with the partner, so they're really blending, you know. And it's whenever there is a touching point, of whenever there is a different point of view, you have the chance of enriching your day, because either you feel communion or you feel you question your beliefs. So I think it's really an adventure, in the sense that every day is there is an opportunity of seeing things in a different way, and that's what I've been looking for. So at least for me, is a check.
Yay! And then I think we have developed some like our own signature ways of communication. Like we have our sometimes our game nights or game days, and then we have our bed talks, wherein we talk about deeper topics or conflicts or ruminating thoughts. So yeah,
And
which
we
I think
understood
really
that we understood that talking first thing in the morning for each of the people is more helpful, because after being rested and well fed, difficult topics are much easier to be handled with.
Yeah, and I guess we've also, well, I feel like we've improved in terms of communication as well, like how we consider each other more. And your eyes is judging.
No, I'm trying to turn that into something visual for the audience. Like, what is the metrics of our progress? Like, how can you qualify and state that we progressed?
Well, I can feel it myself. Like, I've never had this kind of mature way of communicating, like at least an attempt to be mature in communicating needs and wants and plans and goals. And so I'm learning a lot. Yeah, it's a good pressure, good challenge too. And I can see the benefit of this in the long run.
Yeah, I think
Yay, thank you.
the immediate benefit that I saw in my life is really your goal-oriented attitude, or your programming of your life is really framing my lack of vision or a path for my life. So before you, I felt like there is so much to do. How do I prioritize stuff? Like, being with you is helpful to prioritize stuff, because it's like I have little time to devote to what's really meaningful to me and me only. So it's like decluttering space. Just so you know, decluttering is the favorite activity of Gideon, and basically every time that he comes home, he declutters my spot. So
Well, why is that?
Because, well, in a family of hoarders, like, you want really to get rid of all the disposable stuff, and the less goods you have to manage and the more care you can have to take care of them, and yeah, less responsibility, more fun. So a
Yeah,
tidy
and it's just
space.
keeping. Yeah, one is being tidy and having more space, and the other one is like you're keeping stuff that's more important to you, not just like keeping unused or stuff that don't spark joy to you. Yeah. The third question is a bit lighter. What's a memorable or funny moment that happened during a virtual date?
Memorable or funny moment that happened during a virtual date? Trying to think about it, because since we do it on a day-to-day basis, it becomes really like a habit, and so thinking about something outstanding is quite hard. I think what I loved is that when you went to the Philippines, I had a sneak peek into your native house, or, well, not the native house, the one where you spent a lot of time. So you were showing me like the hen, what's that, hen hut outside, like the one for the
Chicken coop.
chicken coop. Okay, and the old dog that it cannot like see properly, and you were calling her or him, I don't remember the sex, and they were
Her.
recognizing you. So there was an intimate moment. It was fun too, because it was like the grandpa being the active person of the family, and I'm like, yay, please get inspiration from him, that is disciplined and is loving and caring towards the grandma. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to do that for you. So that was sweet.
Oh, mine would be like you walking around in your company when we have your lunch. Sometimes you're eating, sometimes you're not. Especially the first part, you show the sky or what's around you. It's
Which
like,
are
I'm
like decantation, no, what's that, sedimentation tanks. So
yeah.
it's like how poetic.
It's kilig seeing like your partner's workplace, and it's also feeling like you're letting me into your world too.
Yeah, the problem with my work face is that my work clothes are basically my house clothes. So that's a point that Gideon doesn't accept that much. So I think he will want to style my outfits to go to the office when we will be living together on a daily basis.
The fourth and fifth question, I'll just mix it, because the fourth is like, how do you deal with loneliness or missing each other? And then the fifth question is, what tools or habits make long distance relationship easier? How would you answer that?
So coping with loneliness is really a big deal, at least for me. And we have been discussing this with Gideon multiple times, because he has a concept of I miss you, or I wish you were here, that I interpret as, oh, what should I do not to let that be experienced? So it's like trigger, like red flag, or like, oh, what should I do to avoid you, the pain and the suffering coming from being physically apart. And Gideon taught me that it's like a natural process too, so you simply cannot prevent that from happening. And embracing the loneliness or the longing, on one hand, strengthens the relationship, because you're really seeing the value that this person has for you on a daily basis. But on the other hand, is also a self-growth journey, because you're really finding your way to make the pain tolerable, or the longing feeling tolerable, because you need to be at ease with yourself. So it's not like your life revolves around a person that makes your life meaningful, which is honestly the way that I saw relationships so far, like up to now. Like, the presence of a person in my life should really soothe me from the pain of like enduring and being responsible for my life. So Gideon is very inspirational in this, because he's really capable of both embracing the pain of loneliness, but at the same time make good use of these lonely time to like do things that make him like happy or make him fulfilled. So, and it's not a response to loneliness, is really embedded in the tapestry of his life.
It's for other people to know. We had an argument or a discussion of like, oh, you feel responsible whenever I miss you, da, 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 da. I think I forgot to share the point of like, when I miss you or when someone misses you, it's not always a very heavy feeling. Like, the scale of it is like very negative or very depressive. Like sometimes it's just like, oh, light missing you, especially that we're talking mostly every day now, and I think the quality is good. So it's just missing you. Like, oh, I want to have my partner with me, beside me. It's not like I'm desperate.
Yeah, it's a big step for me to believe that a person might be functional and functioning well without my presence around. So that's what I've been struggling the most. So the most effective tool to cope with this is really having quality conversation. Because if I have the belief that I really know how your brain works and how your art is feeling, then there is less way of filling the gaps and assuming with the instinctive trigger from the past. So it's like taming the instinct with rationality. And so the big help that came from Gideon was, oh, like, this is the way that I think, this is the way that I feel. So it's like rationality putting kind of a framing structure to the instinct, so the instinct has no room to whiplash and
Right.
just be stinky.
Stinky ka dyan. Yeah, and also raise the point of, oh, when I'm missing you, it's not the only emotion I feel. I'm also happy that you're doing stuff, and at the same time I'm enjoying my time too, but missing is still there. It's normal being away from each other. Yeah. And in terms of like tools, I think for me it's being more communicative of how I feel, and not to expect you to soothe me or to do stuff for me or to guess what I need or want. Thanks for giving that safe space for me to communicate and not having fear of rejection or abandonment.
I should be just more in control of when I kind of overstep on this and I become too pushy. It's like forcing also the communication is not an effective way, because it's more about reassurance and selfishness. I can also learn to walk on my two legs and just be okay with it, even though I don't have all the information and I don't have everything under my sight, to avoid interpretation.
Oh yeah, I have to apologize by the way for last time, because I no, I was reflecting on what happened last time, and I forgot that you also need reassurance. Not only me that needs reassurance all the time, because I always see you as a strong person who might not need reassurance, but yeah, it needs to come from me as well to you. And
Yeah, at the same time, if I'm not vocal about it, like it's kind of puzzling to understand where is this going. Like, is this hinting at something else, which is your instinctive reaction? Is like, oh, he's hiding something. So, like, when it comes to showing the cards of like, oh, I want to be transparent, the transparency should be full, and it's like also if I start, and that's our power. Like, our secret power is that when we tell each other, oh, I really need this because I need help, because I cannot do it all by myself, because this is my fragile point of my vulnerability, then given that we're both kind people and loving people that want to help each other, we're not holding back and we're trying to find our ways to be there for each other. So yay, love power,
Yay.
flower power.
love wins. What's the best advice for someone starting a long distance relationship? My immediate answer is don't start. No, just kidding.
I think it's fun instead, and like you can be scared of for instance, like I am still very fond of physical touch and just the physical presence of the person next to you, but it teaches you also ways to be stimulated in a different way. So my physical touch response was kind of a reaction for being deprived by it for a long time. So it's kind of changing the narrative to, oh, I'm not deprived by it again, so I'm going back to what I used to be. It's like a conscious act of will of like having that physical touch dynamic when you're present to each other. So it makes it more meaningful and it makes the connection even deeper. So it's like, don't see it as with the scarcity mindset of, oh, you're depriving yourself from something. Try to look at it as, oh, this is an opportunity to turn words into something sensual, you know, like the connection itself can really push some buttons that you didn't know you had.
What buttons are they?
I wish I could describe, but I'll let the audience fantasize about them.
I think I'm also challenging the idea of love languages with this kind of relationship. Like, because people think like, oh, there's a main one, there's a secondary one, blah blah blah. But I think you can utilize the other types of love languages. No, no, I have to rephrase that. You need all love languages to have a meaningful and effective relationship. I think exercise will be fluent with the different types because you never know when you have to be long distance, when you have to be close.
And this flexibility allows you to just feel love, even though it's not in the way you have used to be experiencing love. So, like, given our past relationships or our past interactions, we have a certain like standard for, oh, love equals something. So the long distance relationship is questioning this equation because it's restricting the boundary conditions. So you don't have all the domain to choose for the X
Right.
value. You have just a limited acceptable results, and they should equate. So it's like changing the mathematics for that to work is so powerful. It means that you are in control of how you want to perceive love.
What's the language that you want to give first?
I think the easiest for me to give, because it's something that I have been trained to doing for a long time, is words of affirmation. Like, I know how important it is to be verbal about validating stuff that might go unheard or unseen. So I'm trying my best to try to point that out or highlight that every time that I have the chance of seeing it. That is most of the time restricted to the rational layer of our brain. So sometimes it doesn't pierce through and it's just limited to, oh yes, I hear you, but I don't feel that. So to let that be felt and experienced, I think that the barrier of the physical dimension is much easier to break, because through the warmth of the skin or through your smell, like I can bypass the rational layer and just make you feel my love.
I think my giving one is, I think it shifted with you because you're a very acts of service person, a very thoughtful one. So I kind of want to match that of like, oh, how can I? And yeah, because you're not into like receiving gifts, I think, and words, you prefer physical more than words. So I think it's more of quality time and acts of service. That's why I really want to make time and to meet or be with you during my holiday break, because that's what established in my mind when we started getting to know each other. So yeah, now what do you want to receive? What kind of love do you want to receive?
Yeah, already you asking what do you want to receive is like triggering, like, oh, he's people pleasing, like he's begging me to tell him how his love can be validated. The message that I want to deliver is there is really no need for you to be different from who you are, and like being in tune with like yourself to win my heart. So there is
Mahal,
no
I'm not questioning that. It's just knowing to like what's your natural inclination of like kind of the love that you appreciate the most. I know you
think-
appreciate me and the stuff that I do for you, but
no, like, but you already know this answer, and I think it's the most difficult, because when you're sticking to a discipline that goes against like your daily routine or your values, because you recognize the value behind it, like you embrace what are my deepest beliefs, in that I see an act of love, a very deep act of love, because it's like, for instance, every time that you neglect your sleeping routine, you're sacrificing part of you to be there for me. And that makes me feel kind of hurt or suffering, because I know what a toll it's taking from your life. So instead, the sacrifice that really turns me on or makes me feel that the love is effective for the growth is when the sacrifice goes against your beliefs but is for a greater good. So it's like making you a healthier person, a more disciplined person, a more sociable person, blah blah blah. But I can tell by your eyes that you're like, oh no, again, please, white flag,
No,
spare me.
we listen, we don't judge.
Yeah, of course.
Noted. Message received.
Okay, so your turn now. It's my
My
time to
turn.
hear the uncomfortable news of how to make you feel my love in a way that you really perceive it.
I think I haven't said this to you, but it's when you when you take the lead and you give me space to just calm down and to like not think too much and just to like be with you. That's like, oh, like I rarely feel that, and whenever I visit you, that's a really comforting and safe feeling that I feel. Yeah, like someone taking care of you and thinking for you too. Yeah, thank you, Mahal.
Yeah. Oh, that's powerful to me because I've experienced it myself, like people that are present for me to take the lead for me. So I think it's a good match because I think I know how to take good care of people because I received this good care myself. So this power comes easy to me, or at least it doesn't take a toll, right? So eventually, I hope that I learn how what taking the lead means to you without restricting your freedom. I think that's the challenge because I have a certain way of expressing care and love, which might be too normative. So in your case, it's more challenging. Let's say when you are a baby, basically your will is non-existent because you're just expressing needs, and when the needs are matched, is like a cat that receives treats. Is like, yay, I feel fed, I feel heard, I feel seen, so it's fine. But when you're an adult and you come with your like structured identity, it's more challenging because it's not about just matching needs, it's about matching values and respecting boundaries. So that's a challenge that I want to embrace. I want to make you happy doing that.
You are. I feel like if I try to also like take the lead, I think we're just gonna clash. So part of me is also just accepting like, oh, in this arrangement or relationship, I need to allow my partner also to express his way of loving to me by letting him lead, and of just enjoying also this kind of love that you are willing to give as well. Maybe in the future, if I want to also take the lead, I think it's just me needing to communicate with you that I want to take this role at this time to do this. Next one. How do you keep the excitement alive when you're apart?
That's an easy one because we're doing that already. So the exciting part is being there for each other. Then once we are together, then the way to turn it into something fun is like not restricting the ways that we can interact while online. So is like whatever conversation comes up, the card game that can be behind it, or just chismes. It's whatever. It's fun.
And yeah, with our like trips planning or the goal setting, I think it kind of helps keep the excitement alive. But how about in terms of like passion and intimacy?
Yeah, I think we're really different on that because I rely a lot on filling the gaps with my brain, and it's like fantasizing is really powerful to me. While for you, it's like feeling the presence, that it's really a turn on. So the clash here, I think it's evident, but I think we need to experiment still on that to make it really work. The tools that we have to for that are really restrictive, like the digital connection for intimacy to be sparking. When it's about words, is effective because it's about sound and it's about body language, and I can perceive that through a video call. When it's about intimacy, how do you reproduce smell or warmth of the skin throughout the digital media? So far we don't have this capability. Or like, suppose I want to touch you in different ways and see your reactions, like I cannot. So It's I
Mhm.
wouldn't say frustrating. It's just limited options. So
Yeah,
with those limited
just
options,
do
we
what
need
we can with
to
what we have
get
for
by.
now. Yeah, I can really see the difference, but I appreciate the effort and trying to spice things up, trying to make it new and fresh.
Yeah, and I think there is a hidden taboo behind being very true and honest about how we feel in that sphere. So I think that needs to be broken still, because when we are one on one, it's much easier, because you can compensate with a hug, a kiss, a caress, while speaking about sexual intimacy while apart is like an additional layer of challenge, because you need to turn into words something that you naturally experience. So it's like a transformation between physiological reaction into something that is framed into words, and it's a challenge indeed. I don't know if we're even equipped with the right tools to
Well,
face
for
that.
me, it's still manageable. I think 3 more months. Hi, Dario. Okay, what's a misconception people or your friends have about long distance relationships?
Yeah, I think they interpret it as a burden, like they see it as too big of a sacrifice. At least here in Europe, it's like, what's the point of having a long distance relationship when you can, like, you're missing out on an important part of the relationship, which is like the physical part, and the common activities, like the day-to-day ones. But I think what they're missing is the amount of support and care that you can receive despite the distance. Honestly, like having like I have been in previous long distance relationships before, and the stage of maturity of each of the partners is crucial for the long distance relationship not to be depriving you of stuff. So when you're in big distress, and so suppose you're going through a very hard time, the physical presence of your partner is much more helpful, because there are things that you cannot deliver through words. So I think we're kind of lucky too that our quality of relationship is positively affected by our level of growth, and our stage of maturity already. Plus, we're not struggling with severe things at the moment, so it kind of easing things out. I wonder if this could be different in case we were going through much harder stuff.
For me, is that what I'm getting from people the most is like long distance is impossible, difficult, that it's so the relationship is difficult that it makes it impossible to be successful, or almost impossible to be successful. But I guess if both of you are on the same page, have the same goal, have the same maturity, and really like you care about each other like genuinely, I think it's possible. Plus, knowing your negotiables and non-negotiables early, it really helps like filter out or weed out the bad pairs. Or yeah, that's one thing I learned from you and us too.
Yeah, rather than having the same goals, I think it's really about the negotiables and non-negotiables, because I think we're very different on many things, like also life goals too. And this doesn't prevent us from being present to each other, or to at least be open about them, and to see value in what we didn't think it had value to. So
Arrangements maybe in the future is like, oh, because I was planning to go to Europe, and if you have a different plan, if you were planning to go somewhere else, it wouldn't work. But since we kind of like laid out our plans and we saw a match, it made it more possible, I think.
like, compared to other situations in which there is the need or the push for things to be in a certain way. I think we are benefiting by a certain degree of flexibility that we have on both sides. Like neither of us mandatorily needs to follow a straight path, because otherwise there is big consequence, like financially or life development. And in our case, I think we're benefiting from that because we set our life path before, I think.
Number 9, we're almost done.
Yay.
What's the most creative thing you've done to make the other person feel special?
You start first. Help me out with this, please. I think you did a lot of creative stuff to me, so you have plenty of examples. Yeah.
Creative. No, it's the part that's creative that like what kind of creative? No. Oh well, I think it's making your space better, more organized and lighter. That's one, I think. And I don't know if it's creative, but I think my Italian lessons of learning the language. I hope it makes you feel something. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like the Italian lessons, and yeah, they are really outstanding because it's like a way. Once again, we're back to the discipline part in which you're doing something for a greater good, and it's for you, but it's also showing me commitment and growth mindset that is really powerful to seduce me. So that's good. Yeah. In my case, I think I'm really much more pragmatic, so the creativity part is kind of behind compared to you. But already, like the flower delivery of the sunflowers, or sending the flowers to your mom too, I think those were, I wouldn't say creative, but they were original ways to show, yeah, I am present despite the distance. So that's a challenge for me, to become more creative in showing my love to you.
And all the picking up and drop off with the flower and a jacket and a coffee. You're painting the stereotype of, oh, Europeans and Italians are sweet. You're embodying the stereotype, but I'm enjoying it too. Yeah, I appreciate how not only making me feel that, but also like the people around me. You really try to share that too. Even my cat, our cat. Yeah. Yay. Last one. You want to add on to that or no? You're done?
No, I think I'm okay. Yeah, I think I still need to prove a lot of creativity, so that's a challenge left for me.
Asus. And last one. If you could give your long distance self one piece of advice, what would it be? I think I should go first. It's cliche, but one is to trust the process and trust your partner, especially that both of you are healing your traumas and your past selves. A lot will come up. Is trust the process and give your partner the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, that's really powerful, because what I was about to say is like, don't be afraid of sharing what you're going through, no matter how hard can be received by your partner. Like, no matter how tough can it be to endure that, because if you're showing your human side by saying that you're afraid or scared or challenged by something, then you can be unexpectedly surprised by the power that your partner has, either to support you or to rephrase that fear so that you feel less alone in this. So that's really the power of long distance relationship, and of relationship in general. If you're capable of wording out your fears, you find a warrior that is fighting against it next to you. It's not another additional contestant that is menacing you. So I think that's really a strong resource coming from the relationship. And it's kind of community response to to our internal demons. And since I am triggered by something different from what you are triggered, your weapons that you have to fight my fear are much more effective compared to mine. So if we're there for each other, and the must is really transparency, because if we're not wording out what is really frustrating us, then you cannot show me your power.
I thought of two more. One is just because most of my relationships were long distance. I think I just need to remind myself that just because the previous ones didn't work, that doesn't mean like this one will have the same ending too. And then the third one is, I still need to learn it, but to be more patient, especially with the plans that we have and with each other, because we're not always 100% all the time. So yeah, patient with myself, with you, and with the plan that we have. And while taking the time to be patient, improving myself. That's my practical advice to myself. Like, take lessons, be active, learn, and savor the time that I have left in Asia for now.
Yay, big accomplishments. Those are not getting away, no matter the quality of the relationship. It's like a self-investment. It's like in your bank, the interest rate is skyrocketing. So yeah, good job. Proud of you. Transparency is the key. Like, if you're transparent about your fears, that is going to uncover powers of your partner that you didn't think they had. And when using dating apps, you find a guy that you feel that they have value and they're seducing you with their deep voice while walking in Santorini, don't be scared of thinking that they're scams, because if you trust the process, you'll be positively surprised.
I don't think that's what happened. I don't think you thought me a scam. You thought that I was a Filipino and you don't want to be scarred again.
Kinda true. So don't let your past experiences rule your present.
And for me, it's like just be consistent, persistence pays in the end. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Bye bye. Love you too.